Hello, everybody. How are we all doing? I'm hoping very, very well. Just realised I'm letting in far too much outside light, which is making the stream look a little bit jankier than I want it to, but that's okay. Yeah, hope we're doing absolutely spectacularly because Leeds United. 1 second, the cat is trying to sneak in. It's good, Migueli. Thank you, Gally. Because Leeds United have managed to beat Sunderland. And hell of a game it was as well. I'm going to run you through a little bit of a story as well, just to get us up and going. So last night, as I mentioned, I wasn't able to watch the vast majority of the match because I was at 7-a-side, which is why I'm going to suggest that we watch through. Sorry, I've just realised a thing. Kayla helped tidy up the office the other day, and I've just seen that Karl Marx is wearing the fez, which is wonderful. But I wasn't able to watch the vast majority of the match, and I was playing from 25 minutes in the Leeds match to about 75 minutes in the Leeds match. So when I was on the pitch myself, guy comes running into me because I'm playing in net. The ball sort of bobbling loose. The guy, by the way, being, as I mentioned, I was playing against him, my brother-in-law. But the ball sort of loose, bobbling towards me, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to beat him to this ball. I go in for it, he goes in for it. I win it, it bounces off him and just loops up and sort of bobbles its way towards like the middle of nowhere, but one of their strikers in the middle of nowhere, so they scored. That's not the main point of talking about this incident, though, because what also happened was my brother-in-law fell directly onto my head after the tackle. So it's still a little bit hurty, a little bit but only in the area. I did get checked out for like a concussion and everything. But immediately after the match, I had a look at the lead score and I was like, it's 1-0. That's not great. And then a few minutes later, I had a look at the lead score and I was like, oh, it's 1-1. That's not too bad. And then I had another look at the lead score, and that was the point at which I was like, I might have been hitting the head harder than I thought. Because we won? How did that happen? What's going on there? So, having not been able to see a significant amount of the match, what I'm going to do on stream today is talk to you guys about what happened, what I actually saw. I've caught a few highlights afterwards, not many of them, but we're going to potentially watch some of said highlights on stream together, which should be quite nice as well, just to get an idea of what actually cracked off, because I don't know. As far as I can tell, Mallier had a couple of decent saves. I managed to see that early on in the match. But beyond that, I don't know. I'm going to have a quick look and say hello to the chat as well. Danny saying smash a like and subscribe. Please, in fact, do that. That would be much appreciated. Good afternoon, Mark, and good afternoon to the chat. And Wall Piglet, his time's a little bit off. Morning, I'll get the open bus ready for the parade. I'm feeling very confident after this match. I've got to be completely honest with you. I'm not feeling too at risk at this point because I think we're in a very, very good spot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch through some of the key highlights, broken up severely to make sure that I'm not getting YouTubed up the chuff. But we should be all right. Let's have a very quick look, for example, at a very early chance from Sunderland. This one I've already seen, I think. But I'm going to shrinky-dink it down a little bit so we can see what's actually going on. The confusing part is, highlights are here for you. They're over there for me. So I'm very sorry if this gets a little bit confusing.
Ground into the penalty area, and he's cut the ball back. There's a slip, and Bellingham's shot is low, and Meslier makes the first stop and the second stop.
Don't know about you guys. For me, that's a really good double stop. Hello, Icy Gaming. That's a really good double stop. The first one, I think, is trickier than it looks at first sight because it's deflected off Firpo on the way through. I'd managed to see this shot before, so this is why I know that it's had that nasty little Firpo deflection. He's gone down to try and deal with the initial shot, and that's why his hands get to it relatively late. The thing that a lot of goalkeepers wouldn't have been able to do is get up and in place for the second shot, which Meslier does. And I think that's something that he's really, really strong at, and he's continuing to get better at, and I'm very sort of glad that he's managed, because this feels like this is a big part of the Meslier redemption arc that I'm trying to sort of keep the narrative going of. But I'm very happy he made that double stop. Football was okay. Ended 3-3. I can't be mad at myself for conceding any of the goals. Head still slightly oofed. I made one quite good double save. First stop was to the left, where I managed to shot from range, got onto it, put it onto the post. Comes out to one of their forwards, like 3 or 4 yards out from the net, but I get up in time, run across my own goal, and manage to sort of do a clearance off the line. But that's why my knee hurts a bit, because my foot got stuck in the netting. Ouch. Anyway, back into the highlighty bits. Yes, I did.
Sunderland free kick played up to Isidore. Isidore's in the penalty area, and he's turned Ampadu, and he's shot, and it's hit the post, it's gone in. Straight ball, Isidore held off the defensive challenge.
Might need to see a replay on that.
And he's put it in off one.
Okay. General feeling on this, and on all of these, let me know what you initially thought and what you think now about what's cracked off with it, because again, a lot of this I'm seeing for the first time. It's the first time I've seen this goal. The only reason I'm not worried about it is the fact that I know that we come back from it. But for me, the concern on this one is the ease with which Ampadu is gotten on the wrong side of, and the way that Ampadu deals with it after that point. Because at this stage, Ampadu's just fouled him. Like, I'll roll back a bit. Like, this is a foul. If he goes down, he gets a penalty there. He gets Ampadu booked. And that's something that you, like, fair enough to Isidore, he's managed to stay up. And as finishers go,
Leeds United 0, Sunderland 1.
That's a really nice finish. There's no way that Meslier is getting to that. There is a little bit of question around the defensive stuff, and I think we're going to get on Pascal Struijk in a few minutes. But I feel like there's maybe an argument for pushing Ampadu into midfield in the future and keeping Struijk at left back. Just because I think stuff like that is where Ampadu's midfield brain comes in. Because as a midfielder, you're dealing with that challenge and you're thinking, it's okay, I've got a centre-back behind me. You do not currently have a centre-back behind you, Ethan. And that's where you get that problem. Really good finish from Isidore. So can't be too mad, but important to note. I think Sunderland are a much better team than both Burnley and Sheffield United, so bring on the blunts. I think the same. I think of what we've seen from the teams we've played against, Sunderland are the best side going forward, and we're really good at stopping us creating opportunities as well. Hence, we scored in the way we did. Burnley were really good defensively. Sheffield United seem to be good at grinding out results, which is a skill, but it's not a skill that we necessarily want to have in our team because we can just beat teams anyway. But it's a team that we've got, not a team that we've got, a skill that we evidently have because we've just done it against Sunderland. So I think this match made me confident in multiple directions. I'll get onto those in a little bit more detail later on. But I do think that Sunderland are the better side of those, and it's not necessarily on-pitch stuff that will be the differentiating factor. But we move on, because Isidore has just scored.
Solomon takes it outside, carries it forward for Leeds. Firpo's on the overlap, gets the ball to him now, played into the middle. James underneath it with a header down. Cleared on its way towards goal.
That was what we're really good at. And I'm going to have a look at the build-up stuff first. The positions in which we play the best are where the other side have to end up facing the goal, where they have to chase back and just directly face their own net, because that way you can't stand someone up, you can't defend in that manner. The only player that can maybe do that in this situation that isn't completely turned around is this guy. Is that 09? I think that might be 09. Junior Firpo doing Junior Firpo things, which is this really nice overlap. This is where we see that Sunderland's defence is quite good, because without even needing to communicate it, they've gone from doubled up on Solomon to, okay, you deal with Solomon, you deal with Firpo, and that sort of unspoken connection at the back is always really, really useful for a defensive unit. So that's why we can tell that Sunderland are a very, very strong side here.
Firpo's on the overlap, gets the ball to him.
And Firpo, as always, very, very good attacking asset. This is why I still think that we probably need to get him on a new contract going into the next season. My one concern here is that the player in the box to win the header is Dan James, who is very, very short, not a big boy. I think he's only, like, half an inch taller than Manor Solomon, which is in itself not ideal. One sec, need to jank about with the analytic bits and make sure that everything is completely fine. That'll do. There we go. Bish and bash, and indeed, bosh.
Now, played into the middle.
Obviously, from James, isn't perfect. And I think it's 09 here that deals with it.
Underneath it with a header down.
Yes.
Cleared on it.
But it's something that... It's not bad that we're creating that opportunity. I can't tell what the volume is like, by the way, so please shout at me if it's not good. Please shout at me if it is good. I've just turned it down a little bit, so hopefully that's fine. But I can't tell.
Solomon down the left-hand side.
This is part of the match that I didn't watch, by the way. So I've got no idea what's going on from this stage, apart from the obvious highlights that I've seen on like Twitter and stuff.
Solomon with Roberts in front. Up to the edge of the area. Plays it into Farke. Gets a return ball to Solomon. Puts it in the middle.
That's where the Pirou-ness worries me a touch. On Solomon's run here, this is really intelligent stuff. To go, I'm going to beat you.
Solomon with Roberts in front.
And basically does. Patrick Roberts is left behind here. Hey up and hours day. I'm feeling rather giddy today. What happened last night? I love football. We're going through what happened last night right now. So hop on board and we'll have a good time. But it's nuts. Very, very silly. Fun stuff. But Solomon cuts inside, and a lot of people would think, cool, play it to Farke and then stay wide as the option. Solomon doesn't think this. Solomon, at this point, is about to play the ball into Farke and sees a gap. And it's this sort of awareness and the knowledge of what's going on around him that I think is the differentiating factor between Manor Solomon and a lot of players in this league. So, puts it inside and then sees these two players are being drawn in. Patrick Roberts knows he can't keep up with me and just swoops in this gap, which is really, really nice. But the Pirou-ness kicks in about here. Watch Pirou's movement. Solomon's making this run already. This is where, if you're a 9, you need to already be making the run to the front post. Because if it's in the middle of the box, you're not going to beat the keeper to this ball. So Pirou, a little bit late to make that run. It's fair play from 09 again, where he's just sort of slowed Pirou down enough. But this is one of those situations where if you're another number 9, you might be on the end of it. Again, this isn't a like being mean to Joel Pirou thing, because he's been fantastic as of late. It's just a note of maybe something to keep an eye on. But Manor Solomon fires it in. Really good ball. It's not going to be easy to beat a keeper to this ball, no matter who you are, because he's basically on his front post. But if Pirou sets off a second or so early, he gets to about here, and he can maybe flick it on. Which is a shame that it's not worked out, but that's a sign that we're creating a lot of decent chances anyway, and a lot of people will, like... In fact, I've not seen the XG from this match, so I'm going to have to quickly check that. Patience while SofaScore does its thing, but it should all be fine. Whilst we're having a chill, how are we all? Pop a 1 in the chat if you really enjoyed beating Sunderland yesterday. That was great. There it is. Close one last night. Well done, Sunderland, holding it as long as they did. Yeah, it was one of those where you can see why Sunderland are where they are in the league. Let's have a look. XG of 2.05, and then opportunities like this don't even count towards XG, is the main sort of thought for me right now. Also, I'm seeing no 1s in the chat, so clearly you all hated the fact that we won. But again, stuff like this doesn't count towards the XG because no one got their foot on it to take a shot. It's this kind of stuff where you can tell that we're really taking a lot of opportunities. There we go, Danny. Danny liked it. I've also realised that people watching on TV can't also pop a 1 in the chat, so my apologies. Just watch on like mobile or PC at the same time and use that as a chat. I don't know. Good afternoon, Bremner's Ghost. I hope you're doing well. But this is the sort of situation that we create a lot of. We get to the byline, we cut it back, and we've got a decent number of players in the middle of the box, and we weren't doing that earlier in the season. And us being able to do so now is a big improvement. We've got to see what else happens for the rest of the second half, because, again, all I know is we scored twice. I don't know outside of that.
For the edge of the box, back into Pirou. Who has a shot? Good effort, goalkeeper.
It's not a bad effort.
Strauch and Rothwell are the two.
Gee, I wonder if Strauch and Rothwell coming on are a significant part of the way that this match is going to go. If you can train Piero to make the front post, you get at least another 5. Yeah, if he could just make that run a little bit earlier and just read the game a bit better. See, Ricky also enjoyed the win. So, I mean, there we are.
Strauch out to this near side.
Went to Firpo. This would be the first goal then. Also, Firpo, very nice, tricky feet there. Winning that free kick is incredible. It's such a deft little header as well. Really nicely taken. Could do with a wide shot on the goal again, though. Just so I can look at runs and stuff. And that feels like that's the winner. So we'll cut to here. Right. And then go back frame by frame. Right. First goal Strauch. This is just stinky defending, I think. Because look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3 Leeds players. All in the box. All waiting to get their head on this chance. And in terms of players marking them, you got whoever this is falling over. This guy's trying to cover off the front post, but it's not working. And then 4 players back here. 2 marking the back post. 2 on the back post, I understand. But why aren't these guys getting involved with the 3 players at the front post? Just got to track it coming in. And because of the way that they've sort of structured their back line, sure, 09 is there to try and get a clearance off the line. But you're not doing anything. You're maybe trying to get involved. And it's just not worked for him. And I think that's something that might rear its ugly head again. Decent attempt at a clearance off the line, by the way. But it's never going to happen. Great subs last night from Farke, according to Rothwell, when him and Pascal were coming on. He said Farke said we'll score a set piece. And we scored 2.
Leeds 1, Sunderland
1. Don't know where the keeper was going. Let's have a look at the keeper. Because I'll do some crap goalkeeper insight. Okay, I'll explain that as well. So what the keeper has seen is, and I've been in this situation before, because I've played like 2 times in a full-size net, because I'm a 7-a-side kind of guy. What the keeper's seen here is something that I've recognised both in like full-size matches and small-sided matches, and it's where you see that a section of the box is just dominated by the other team. So in this specific case, goalkeeper, is it Patterson? I think it's Patterson, maybe Nathan, something like that, is looking in front of him, and he's seeing 3 Leeds players at the front post. He's seeing one of the markers has fallen over. He's seeing this lad, who, let's be honest, is not going to win the header. And he's thinking, if there's danger here, it's not coming from the back post, because the back post is all Sheffield. Not Sheffield, Sunderland. So he's thinking, right, where's the threat going to come from? It's going to come from over here. If a player's going to get their head on it, they're likely to try and get a proper connection on it, which will put it into the near post, which gets his head on it at the front post. Fair enough. And if it's a proper connection, the keeper's in the right spot for it. However, it's a bit more of a flick-on shot kind of thing, where it sort of nudges him, takes a little redirection. So you can see direction the ball's coming in. If it's a hard header, it's going over here. It's a soft one, and it just goes this way, which is what wrong foots the keeper, which isn't ideal. And that's why the goalkeeper's at that half of the net. That one is just to sort of explain it. That's not a, it was the right decision, because obviously it wasn't. But every step that their keeper took there was completely rational. I think it's on the rest of their back line being in the wrong place, more than anything. And then 09 can't get rid of it. And it's 1-1. And from this point, we get into a little bit of discussion that I was having in my pre-match preview, where we looked through Sunderland's weaknesses. And we looked through, they were conceding a lot, which is fair enough. They were conceding a lot, and now they've conceded 8 in the last 5. But they conceded 2, at least the second one in this game, in my opinion, because of potentially ongoing mentality concerns due to having a young side. So the Sunderland squad is incredibly young. Just going to take a look at their FBref page just to get a little bit of evidence on this one. If it wants to load. Again, when I'm streaming, all of this stuff doesn't load up, which is always really fun and is starting to be an issue. Right. So, Dan Neil, 23. Not the most experienced. Trey Hume, 22 and a bit. The most experienced regular starter is Luke O'Nien. And Luke O'Nien is not someone that you can look to when your team is undergoing a bit of head loss and go, you'll steer the ship, right? Because if you're a kind of shithousey guy, in all likelihood, you're prone to a little bit of a wobble, a little bit of head loss. Beyond that, you've got Joe Bellingham, 19, Anthony Patterson, 24, so again, not super old. Chris Rigg, 17, Serkins, 22, Mepham, I don't know if Mepham even came on, but Mepham is, again, a decent player, but he's nothing super special. Mundell's 21. Enzo Lafay is admittedly young and upcoming and really good and is 25, but he's not got that much footballing experience behind him. So the deeper you go into the Sunderland squad, you can see why it's a very young side and their mentality just isn't there right now. So the average age in their squad is 24 years old. The average age across the league, at least the average age of teams that have played against Sunderland, is 26 and a third. So each of the players on that pitch are 2 seasons less experienced, so don't know how to deal with it when things get a little bit difficult and tricky and complex. So when you're at a loud and bouncing Elland Road that is just trying to get on top of you, as 19-year-old Joe Bellingham, as 17-year-old Chris Rigg, as 22-year-old Trey Hume, are you going to be at your best, or are there going to be nerves sneaking in, and you're not quite going to know how to deal with that? This is something that we dealt with last season, I think, as well, where we had a very young side, and there were points at which we panicked and we went, what's worked in the past? Rush it out to Somerville, and then Somerville, who was also young, didn't know what to do with it a lot of the time, so cut inside and shot, and sometimes it works, often he missed. But this is where I think that kicks in. The sort of mentality concerns that they're going to have to deal with. Sign of champions when you don't play well and still win like that. Exactly, yeah. Played quite well. Well, played okay. We still created a lot of opportunities. Like an XG of 2 is not bad in the slightest. But we did what we needed to. But then the next goal happens. And this is where I think the whole mentality breakdown, switching off thing comes in. And it's a thing that we saw quite often with Meslier earlier in the season. And this is the reason I think he made mistakes. And this is why I think across the side, we made a few mistakes last season, because you think you're okay, and then the danger continues. All good, Darren. I'm assuming Darren. Yeah, if you have a look in the chat, I've explained this one away. A little bit like sore, but fine. Well, not fine, but not bad. The worst bit right now is the knee, but we've had a little bit of a chat about that. And then finally, Bogle pings a ball. Not Bogle, Rothwell, because it's a corner.
Middle, heads up from Byram.
Not at all, doesn't work out. I've seen the wildest take on this pass from Ramazani, right? And it's an incredible take. And I don't want to cook him too much. But I'm going to go to X, the Everything app, also known as Twitter. If it wants to load. If it doesn't, then that's also fine. But it's a pain. And I believe only Leeds Bros has also seen this tweet. And he's getting very slightly cooked by absolutely everyone. I've only just realised that Ramazani meant that pass to Rothwell. His decision-making, composure and ruthlessness in the final third is just unbelievable. Outstanding subs from Farke last night. Totally changed the momentum of the game. Now. And to quickly note, Joe has dug him out for it. Darren has dug him out for it. I'm not sure if anyone else has. No, not too many people. But that's the least deliberate thing I've ever seen. But let's share this tab instead again. If you're Ramazani here, you're seeing this path to goal open, and you're like, oh, there's a screamer here. And that's what Ramazani's done. However, it's hit the wrong bit of boot. It's come off the outside of his foot, which means that it's gone whee over to here.
Ramazani puts it towards the far post. It comes all the way.
But it's not a problem, because Rothwell is thinking, you know what I can do? I'll just whip a ball in. That'll go really well for us. But more than that, he's got a lot of composure to do this. Doesn't just put it in. No. Drops the shoulder
to come into the penalty area.
To sit, I'm going to guess this is Laffy. Almost on his ass. Bogle did it twice, by the way. Wonderful. And this ball is delicious. This ball is why the substitutions made by Daniel Farke yesterday absolve, for me, any complaints about Daniel Farke substitutions that have been made to this point. Because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, to Curlish.
It's such a good ball. I can't tell if it's a shot now, looking at it. Because it's so close to the net. And the goalkeeper tries to deal with it as a shot rather than as a cross, which could be what throws him off a little bit. But keeper's done the right thing. He's gone to his front post, tried to deal with it before it can get into like the danger zone. Looking again. We're going to go back frame by frame, actually, to do the signs on this one. I think he's hitting that hard enough to be a shot. But what happens next is... does he miss his punch? I don't know. I'll wait for a future replay to answer that one, Ricky. But who's there but Pascal Struijk?
Oh, he's done it! Oh, yes! Rothwell's ball in, Struijk on the line, and now what scenes we have here at Elland Road.
Right, let's have a look. He does miss the punch. He really misses that punch. He's going up for it. And he starts his punch there, but the ball's too fast for him. He's misjudged it. That's why you can see the slight bend going on the elbow. Because he's still doing this, and he's about here rather than here. If he's at full extension, he clears that. Brilliant ball from Rothwell. Brilliant header from Struijk, who, might I note, is very, very careful with the header. Make sure he can get over the top of it and head it down. So there's no chance of missing because he knows it's in the middle of the net. Also, I'd like to note, the XG on this, 0.97 because of where he is. The fact there's no goalkeeper. Expected goals on target, 0.99 something. I'm assuming that's 0.996 or something stupid like that because no one is getting in the way of this. Unless this goalkeeper, not goalkeeper, is that Arpo Halm? I might have to rely on one of you guys to let me know, but is that Arpo?
Leeds United.
Is that Halm or Hume? Let's have a look. I don't know if Arpo got on the pitch, but I know he was on the bench. No, it's not Halm, it's Hume. That makes it less funny. Then the EFL decide to be fun sponges, obviously, because we've got some fun happening on the pitch, which means that you need to book Daniel Farke. Letter of the law. Sure, it's hold on. I need to send a reply to someone for this. anyway. Because I sometimes do like fan pundit things for Football League World, and I've been asked the question. Neil Warnock has slammed the decision to book Daniel Farke amid Pascal Schreik's dramatic late winner for Leeds United against Sunderland on Monday night. Do you agree with him, or is it fair? I'm gonna respond to that voice note whilst I'm currently on stream, because I think that could be quite fun to do. So when it comes to the decision to book Daniel Farke when he came onto the pitch celebrating, I think that's a classic example of a referee that is too committed to the rulebook and not committed enough to the fun of football. So football is a game that should be exuding joy and happiness and positive emotions. And when you whack out the rulebook and you say, Daniel Farke technically came onto the pitch, give him a yellow card. One, it feels like you've done that just to look like you're doing something. It feels like you've done that just to sort of soothe any Sunderland fans that might be annoyed at decisions that happened earlier on in the match. Because football fans are football fans and they're not always the most rational. But it also feels like a decision that you've made when you've lost what the game is. Because football is all about those positive emotions and those positive moments. And if you're giving yellow cards for someone being too happy, yes, it's correct by the rule books, and yes, it's technically fair. But I think giving someone a yellow card to the point that they are banned from the next match and unable to coach when it's first against second, it's a Yorkshire derby, it's the top two teams in the league, it could decide who wins the league, is a little bit of a joke. That's a prime example of a referee that has lost what football is. And that's kind of a shame. Also, a quick note for Sam. The reason this sounds so weird is because I was also asked this question on a live stream at the same time. So my cadence may be a little bit weird. It just felt like it made sense to answer the two questions at the same time. Sorry. Sorry about it being a bit of a weird one. I explain why. There we go. Right. Let's have a look through the chat. Both officials told the ref. Yeah, but that's the thing. When that's happened, if you're the referee, you can make the decision. You can still say, fine, let the moment be, because it's such a good moment. But he's just decided, sod it. This as well, like, I feel like you've got to be such a dickhead that is that much of a stickler for the rules to say, no, that has to be a yellow card. You are too happy. What? Marcelo Bielsa said emotions are what makes football so good. He's right as well. And this is it, because it's increasingly become not about sort of the meaning of things, but the technicality of things. And that's such a less fun way of approaching the game. Right. Gonna get through the end of the video as well, because screw it.
Snatched a massive 3 points. Oh yes, Leeds United 2.
One of those games that matters more than any other could in the league right now.
That's it. It's all over. It's a huge win for Leeds. It's a massive
And it looks like he's just taken the opportunity to go,
that carries Leeds back to the top
could ruin your day.
And opens up a big gap between Leeds United and Sunderland.
I saw some shenanigans here, and I don't know what for.
Now will launch into an almighty.
Who's being pulled away from who in that wider shot? Stroke's just shaking hands with people. Unless someone said something to Stroke, because he's come on and, let's be honest, for me, Stroke, man of the match. Because, admittedly, only on for 20 minutes. And I didn't see a lot of the game. But if you're only on for 20 minutes and you score twice, no better way of going about that. Not for me. How many subs did Leeds make? All 5. Tanaka Gruev, because Ampadu pushed into midfield. Rothwell came on. Fopo came off for Byram. Aronson off for... Was that for Joseph? That would make sense. And then Solomon for Ramazani. Because the celebrations are kicking off, so I'd grow up. They're 4th. And if you're in 4th place and someone beats you, surely you've got to accept that they're going to have some fun with it. Because if your stadium isn't absolutely bouncing at that point. Dan on the square ball has some hilarious insight into what went on after the match. Can you let me know in the chat? Because I'm going to listen to the match ball shortly, but I can't yet. Yeah, Sunderland were real jolly at the fact that you drew. We get a last-minute winner that is properly deserved. And there you go.
Supporters now will launch into an almighty party all around.
I'm a big fan of this as well, right? And this is very specific. But look at this group of players here. Hang on. Got hair in my mouth. There we go. Elland and Bogle and I think Rodon and Poe actively pulling Stroke away. Saying, sod them.
Mighty party.
Melier calling over Ampadu.
All around the stadium. They went behind in the first half.
And everyone just deciding, let's be happy. Because that's football! I also quite like Elland Melier, by the way, in the background, because I have seen this bit. Pascal Stroke clearly has just seen Elland Melier. This going on in the foreground. And at what point here do you think Melier realizes, oh, quite a bit bigger than Pascal? Don't think he can hold me. Or does he realize it at all whilst he's accidentally teabagged him? Absolute joy.
And that's how it finished. What a night here at Elland Road. It's produced again. What a place.
Fantastic.
It finished. Leeds United 2.
The annoying thing is, could have gone to this match. And I neither watched it nor went. Which is a shame. But that's fine. What about Sunderland celebrations when they managed an equaliser at their place? That's the thing. They're allowed to celebrate it. Because it was really, really good. I'm not going to get mad at another team for celebrating what is an important point in that case. 3 points in this case. I'm just going to get confused when people get especially mad at you for it. Because you shouldn't. Because like other people's joy is not a thing to be peeved at. Wish you and Chris... Oh, that would have been so good. But it was not to be. Right. I'm going to check the chat now, see if anyone's had anything to say. But now I have an idea of what happened in the match, I can feel like I can talk about it a little bit more confidently. And I think a lot of it was, I think mentally, we're significantly more there than we were last season. Because that's one of those matches that's really, really tough for us to win. Ramazani apparently offering the Sunderland fans out. What? Largy, my guy, you're like 5'6". You're not going to win. They're from the north. And we're from the north, and they're from the north. So I just... Farke unprofessional. He knows the rule for pitch invasion. Does what? Sunderland lose momentum with Farke's shenanigans. I'm confused as to what you mean, but I will be honest with you. When every other day you will see a goalkeeper like going for a bit of a wander, not a goalkeeper, sorry, a referee, not a referee. Jeez, right, maybe my head hurts more than I thought it did. A coach wandering outside the technical area, and all a fourth official will say is, do you mind getting back in? And the number of times that a goal will be scored and everyone loses their mind and half the bench goes for a run. And that's not punished. And it feels like one of those cases where a referee wants to be seen to do something. And it's a bit sad. And as much as it is like unprofessional, knows the rules for pitch invasions, warrants a ban, all that kind of stuff. Also, I need to just slightly rejank things about. It's like, because I'm in the wrong bit of frame. There we go. Top 2/3. But I'm not going to blame Daniel Farke for being happy. Not even a little bit. And if he gets a match ban, I think it's a bit of a joke. But he might. But even if we do, I feel like we are a side that is prepared enough for matches like Sheffield United before the match itself to know that we're okay. And in this case, having things like substitutions agreed in advance is a good thing, because it means that players already know what they need to do and they don't need Daniel Farke on the touchline. So it's all good. Looked like the original midfield was sensitive and defensive, but once the first two subs came on, all that changed. I think it was initially a low-risk approach, but then considering we were behind, it turned into, let's see what happens. And I did see a lot of people on Twitter afterwards, because I had to scroll through in the aftermath, being mad that Daniel Farke had elected to bring on a centre-back and Joe Rothwell at the same time. And when you see that, fair enough, it's a slightly more attacking midfielder and a centre-back, but it's also the guy that wins headers and the guy that puts in the really good crosses. So all good, I think. Yeah, support Man City if you don't want to be celebrating goals. But we're in a good spot. Good afternoon, fantastic result, and I'm happy we have Sheffield United next while we're on such a pivotal high. Indeed. This is one of those results that can decide a season. And I think if this is a 1-0 loss, a lot of the fan base is like, oh, that's not good. And I'm glad that it's significantly come from a managerial decision as well. Because if it was a 1-0 loss, I promise you, the amount of people screaming Farke out would skyrocket, because they'd be like, "Oh, you should be winning those. Those are the games you need to win." But a couple of subs changed the game, won us the match. Brilliant. And that's why I think it's such a good result, because the things that went right were the things that needed to go right, which is wonderful. Last night was never in doubt. My throat was sore after Rovers and Bros. Last night has finished me off. I think he might appeal it. I mean, I don't know if he will, but I hope he does, because you can quite easily point to across the league. Well, no, because the same rule was broken here, 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 and here, and you didn't do a thing. But I don't know if it'll work. Hard to say. His post-match it sounded like Farke accepted it. I mean, I think we'll be fine either way. But there was this as well, when Jurgen Klopp didn't get a punishment for Pascal Struijk, and I would like to be completely clear on this. Winning the ball in a tackle against Harvey Elliott. I'm still mad that was given as a red card. I mean, I kind of get it, because fine. If anything, it's just good to get him out of the firing line there. But I'm going to watch that back. I seem to remember it not being that bad of a tackle. Right, share screen. That one. I love that this is entitled Harvey Elliott injured by Pascal Struijk. feels like it's a bias.
Yeah, he ignored the lunge.
Right.
Allison went for something cute and got it wrong. Oh, he's in trouble.
That's given us a red card is because of the outcome, not the intention. And not even what actually happened. Annoying. Rules, there was still time to play. It's like the USA and the Ryder Cup, wives and girlfriend running at the green when... I'm not going to know a single thing about the Ryder Cup, I'll be completely honest with you. The Ryder Cup is just over my head. Couldn't tell you. Not the foggiest. But sure, this is one where I'll go, that sounds like that thing, because I don't know. But I can't be peeved at a last-minute winner against a promotion rival and your manager goes onto the pitch out of sheer joy. And it's one of those where, by the rules of the book, fine, give him a yellow card. But by technicality, come on. By vibes, you don't give that. It's like... It's the equivalent of letting a game flow for the rest of a football match. Because when you're letting a game flow, odds are there's going to be 2 or 3 fouls you haven't given as a referee. Fine. Everyone acknowledges that's what you're doing. You're going with the vibe of football. But in this case, you're not. And the reason you're not is because you felt like it. Genuinely not. Because when Sunderland managed the draw against us in the last minute, I don't remember if Reggie Labrie went on the pitch. You know what? I wouldn't give a toss if he did. Because it's fine. Because in the video that I did a couple of days ago, that I will be honest, not many of you have watched. And that's fair enough, because it's not one of those intriguing games. Not intriguing games, intriguing videos. It's the Why We All Love Football and Why Some Never Will one. Where someone decides to come out as pro-hate crime in the comments, which is like, cool, very nice. The entire vibe behind that is football is about joy and about love and about happiness. And in that video, I was saying things along the lines of, so anyone that is discriminating against people in a crowd is against that. And you are the opposite to what football wants and needs. Whereas in this case, it's you're not suppressing the joy through being like discriminatory or anything, because that's not what's happening. But you're suppressing the joy through technicality. And that feels annoying. Jam still went for a repeat of March last season. We went to get on. We went on to get like 7 points from 19 or something awful like that. I don't think that happens. I think we've learned. I think we have grown and we have developed from that. And I'll be honest. Let's have a look at the championship table, shall we? Again, things take a while to load. Come on. Come on. There we go. Currently on 72 points with 13 games to go. If we think 90 points is enough, which I will be honest, I think you'll get 3 teams on 90 and you'll need 92, 93. Okay, at this point, you are purely saying this because you don't like Daniel Farke. And you might want to deny that. Sure, that's okay. But this feels like pushing a narrative at this point. But 72 points, as Jim has said, 8 wins away from promotion. I think it takes less than that. 8 wins gets you on 96 points. An 8 from 13 would be spectacular. I would love us to win 8 of the next 13 games. I think we'll get more. I think we'll need less, but I think we will get more. Because I think we are good enough to do that. We're good enough to cause some pretty severe issues for other sides. And it's winning matches like Tony's just mentioned, like this one, like Swansea, like lots of other things that prove the point for me. I don't even think we need to do this. But I think there's a genuinely strong chance that we break 100 points this season. Because we're just ridiculous at the minute. I'm going to have a look at last season's championship table, actually. Again, this is assuming things go okay for the rest of the season, because, where was it? As Anomaly mentioned, do you have any worries about an international break? A little bit. Because the United States quite badly need Aronson at the minute. But we also quite badly need Aronson, so I think it would be wise if we have a word with the United States and say, okay, in your upcoming matches, you have a CONCACAF Nations League semi-final against Panama. You can piss that without a doubt. Because Panama, not an especially good team. Beyond that, I don't know who's in the other semi-final, but we'll have to take a look. If it wants to load. I don't know if it does, but that's fine. 24-25 CONCACAF Nations League. There we go. The other semi-final is Canada-Mexico. So that one's going to be a tougher match. And that's where I get a little bit spooked for Brendan. Because that's on the 23rd of March. Which is on a Sunday. What's our first match after that? Be at least 5 days of rest. Because that'll take you to Friday. Hopefully we've got the match on the Saturday, but I don't know if that's been announced yet. But I think we'd be okay. It's also the same day as the Chinese Grand Prix for Formula 1, which is nice. Thank you very much, by the way, Anomaly. I'm glad you liked the video. But I think we're fine. And this will be very, very nice, and this is a very good point as well. Like, everyone in that stadium was celebrating, and you're just asking one person to not. It's only Blades I'm worried about for other fixtures left. I don't even know about that. Like, looking at the way they've been playing recently, let's have a look at Sheffield United on FBref. FBref, by the way, fantastic website. FBref, if you're watching this, sponsor me. That'd be very nice. They're just leaking chances. The last 3 matches in a row, they've won, sure, fine. But they've conceded more than 1 XG. Against Portsmouth, 3.1. Middlesbrough, 1.3. Luton, 1.4. They're not a good side. They're very, very beatable. Especially if we're on our game. We can all be sticklers sometimes. It's fine. Someone needs to give Aronson the flu. Everyone start coughing at him. Yes, but give him the flu in one very specific time window. Or steal his passport. Either works. Ow, that hurt. I actually get to talk football with the people on my episode today's movie. Oh my god, you don't do that. QPR on the 15th match, scary they turn into Prime Madrid at home. Do they? Let's have a look at Flash Score, shall we? Home form, QPR, how are you doing? Come on, load. You can do this. I believe in you. QPR are 15th in terms of the home table, although they've beaten Derby 4-0, Blackburn 2-1, lost to Sheffield Wednesday, beat Luton 2-1, beat Watford 3-1. Maybe that is the threat. That's a fair point. I would if I could, but they ain't got the infrastructure around these parts. You think Farke has a better plan B this season than last? I think so. Yeah, I think it's not just about having a better plan B. It's about having players that follow through that plan B and don't stick with plan A. Because previous plan B was you play a 3-1-6. You throw everyone up top, and you desperately hope that it works. But everyone's still playing the way that they were earlier, which doesn't really add up. That's where the issues start to sneak in. And I think we do have that better plan B at the moment, which is going to push us in the right direction and is going to make sure that things work okay. Beat us 4-0 last season at their place. Scary. Yeah, yeah. The depth is better. I think we swapped out a strong ceiling of talent with a better average of talent. Because now you can look at the bench and go, there's so many strong players out there. Whereas last season it was, maybe we bring on Joffy. I don't want to bring on Joffy, but we might have to. And it's a very, very good sign of where our squad is now, that in the Premier League, we had Jan Paveda and Leo Hjelde on our bench. And now we're in the Championship and we have a better bench than that. So it's a good sign of just the entire squad being a little bit better, which is lovely. Still don't see much rotation on match days. I hope it doesn't include subs as rotation. The way that Farke rotates doesn't tend to be game to game. It tends to be in chunks. So if a player gets a little bit of a knock or anything like that, then they come out, someone else comes in, they get time to recover, and if the someone that came in plays really well, it becomes the other player's job to shift them out of that role. You've also got to add the sort of note of, look at our recent results. 3-0 against Sheffield Wednesday. Never mind, they're home results. Well done, me. Thanks, Brain. Brilliant. I mean, shit, look at our last 15. We've not lost in 15. At least. We've lost... I expanded the form table from 15 to 20, and then 2 losses snuck in there. But our last 4 matches were 7-0 Cardiff, 2-0 Coventry, but we should have scored more. 4-0 against Watford, but we could have scored more. 2-1 Sunderland, who were in 4th place. I don't think we need to rotate at the minute. I think as is, we are fine. You know who's second in the 5-match form table? Coventry. You know who we beat 2-0? And it looked like it could have been 7 or 8? 3 games ago. Coventry. We are routinely dispatching the best teams in this league. And we're making them look ordinary. And that's something that is rare to see. I mean, we started a bad run of games for Cardiff. Cardiff had gone 8 matches without a loss. Then we played them, beat them 7-0, and we broke them. Since then, they lost 2-1 to Portsmouth and drew with Bristol City. It's ridiculous. Like, on this one, it'd be nice to see him at some point. I don't see it feasibly. Because who do you take off the bench? None of those attacking players. If you're Ramazani or Joseph or Nonto, Rothwell, anyone. If Harry Gray comes in for you, you're like, what the fuck? Because, like, under-21s football is a reasonable standard. But it's not our bench. Oh, I wish. Oh, that'd be incredible. I would love those numbers. I'd love the running numbers. But if I remember right, that kind of stuff is only on, like, the really advanced stuff. It's not a thing that you get on FBref at the very least, I don't think. Unless it is, and it's just data that I've not found yet. 1 second, I'm going to try and find some data. This is War Piglet's fault. No, I don't think it exists. Which sucks because the Bundesliga just provides that information, but not in the Champo. What happened to Charlie Crew? He's currently on loan at Doncaster, doing quite well as far as I'm aware. Which is nice. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us over to our favourite spot, the best place in the world, because I'm about to end the stream. I didn't mean to do a long one. I still have a lot of work to do today. But I'm going to bring the stream to a close in a minute. So, I don't want to know what you think. I do want to know what you think, but I phrased that wrong. I'm going to take us over to Questions Corner, because I brought up the wrong banner. So, if anyone has any questions, chuck them in the chat, and I'll answer the next 3, and then I'll end the stream there, because it's just nice. Just a nice time. Would you take Isidore? I don't know. He's 24. He's gotten a decent number of goals this season so far. He's not a bad player. But what we're going to need to do if we get promoted is upgrade on Patrick Bamford. And I don't know enough about his profile as a striker to know whether he fills in that gap perfectly. And I'll be honest, I don't see Sunderland wanting to lose players in this summer. I can see Sunderland actively thinking, right, okay, even if we haven't gone up, they're going to be a very strong playoff side. And they're going to say, if we can keep as much of this squad together as possible, then we're going to have the best possible chance. That's a lot more questions than I thought, so I'm just going to cover all of them. But I probably wouldn't take Isidore. How do you do in net last night? Conceded 3, but made a few very, very nice saves. The goals that I conceded were someone completely unmarked at my back post that I couldn't get across to. What was the second one? Second one, I went in for a 50-50-ish thing with one of my defenders. But because I know that that defender has had knee problems, I pulled out of it because us conceding a goal isn't worth causing more consistent injuries for him. And the third was the one that I mentioned earlier, where I went in for a 50-50 with my brother-in-law. Ball went out loose. I was on the floor, head oofed. And it was just a tap-in for their striker because he was unmarked. Not much to do about it, but it did all right. Did what we could have expected. And knowing that we drew 3-3, but I did what I could. How's Rocker been doing for Betis? Scored twice this weekend, but outside of that, I've got no idea. I've not been keeping track of him. Who would you like to go up with us? The ideal is, and I know it's not looking... Sheffield United would be good, because then you get a cheeky little Yorkshire derby up there. I'd probably like Sunderland as well, just because it feels like they're a club that belong at that level. What am I having for lunch? I think I'm having a noodle soup that I'm going to make for myself, which is going to be lovely. Favourite cake you could share with Farke on the couch? I will go with a lemon drizzle cake because lemons are delicious, drizzles are delicious, and cakes are delicious. So it all adds up. And why does the working man have to work? Because capitalism, comrades. And Carl will agree. Carl in his fez. Lovely. Anyway, I'm going to leave that stream there. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, pop a like on it. That's always massively appreciated. Helps the channel to keep on chugging along. Subscribe if you're not yet as well. That is always absolutely fantastic, and it helps the channel to keep on growing. Become a channel member if you want. You get a bunch of videos early and all that kind of stuff. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo. And now I'm going to do an experiment where I see how long it takes for the stream to actually end. So I'm going to count up. You guys let me know roughly where I get in the count before it ends. So I'm going to press the button. 1,